responsibility, and genuine curiosity ignited a body of work that has since touched millions of lives, helping us understand not only men and women, but ourselves, our instincts, our hearts, and the ways we disconnect or move toward real connection. Allison's wisdom is the kind of that speaks to your nervous system and your soul. Her books, seminars, and online programs are filled with compassionate truths, deeply human stories, and practical tools that make us embody the sacred dance between masculine and feminine in a world that often forgets how to honor both. She is this rare gift that makes the complex feel clear and the tender parts of us feeling seen.
Mm.
And today I am beyond honored to share space with her. So settle in, breathe in a little deeper, and open your heart because this conversation is an invitation into more love, more understanding, and more uh, of your truest self. Welcome to the extraordinary Alison Armstrong. I'm so honored.
Wow, I'm honored. I think that's the best introduction that that you created, right? That we didn't write that. That's the best introduction I think I've ever had. Thank you.
To be able to host this conversation, and I know that this is just going to be magic for our listeners. So
Hmm.
I always kind of start off our conversations off the bat with what is bringing you joy in this moment?
Oh my gosh. Um, huh? I would have to say my family and then my family is in my well, they're all together. So there's the men in my life, right? There's my boyfriend. There's my late husband, who's still in my life. there's, and he's up to so much mischief. There's my grandson, which my late husband keeps hanging out with my 1.5-year-old grandson, which might sound weird, but it's pretty cool,
I believe
actually.
it.
Okay, good. It's oh my gosh. And uh my son and I are planning a trip to Japan that I'm so excited about. And this may sound weird, but as I was getting your email with the new link, I saw a there was an email that my donkey, who we had returned to the rescue from which I got him 10 years ago, has just been adopted by a family in Aspen, Colorado. So
So
he's
cool.
off to another part of his happy life. And he was a donkeys are the masculine of the equine world. They're extremely logical. You can't scare them into doing anything. It has to make sense to them or they won't do it. And so Samwise was a really important part of my life for a long time. And now he's got a new life. And that gives me joy in this moment. I found it out right when I went to get your link.
I
So,
love this. I am so happy to hear how you really enmeshed. It's not only like family and integration, but you're also talking about kind of like the outer world of once people pass on.
mm, yep,
I'm
it's
all
been a
about the woo.
big feature for the last 6 years. It was a big surprise, and it's keeps being something really cool. It's affected
Well,
me a lot.
but it's beautiful because it shows that our love doesn't end right on this plane.
Not at all.
I'm so
Not at all. These shells, they wear out, but we're not gone. No one ever leaves the universe. Period.
agreed. I'm so excited. This conversation is, I can already tell it's going to be amazing.
So, what do you want to do next?
Okay, so I have what I call kind of the her method, which is heal, embody, rise. And so our questions are kind of going to be geared towards that. So
Okay.
we're going to start off with heal. And
Okay.
it's what would you say are common wounds you see in the masculine and feminine these days? And do they unconsciously play out in our modern relationships?
Oh my gosh. Well, the second question first, unconsciously and consciously. There are so many sadly, there are so many behaviors in both men and women that both men and women justify by our wounds. Well, you can't talk to me like that because you know what happened to me, and you know I can't take someone being that direct. Or like well, you know my mother, so you know you can't do that with me. Like there's all these we call it one of the benefits. One of the benefits of wounds is that people use them in lieu of boundaries. Instead of saying, no, you can't be that way with me, it's, you know, you can't be that way with me because this terrible thing happened. Right. And instead of just stop, I understand why you do that. You just can't do it around me. So make up your mind. You want to do that or you want to be around me? Straight up. And so so yes, unconsciously, absolutely. We have, I mean, if we tried to list the conclusions we have about ourselves, which we have people do in our Extreme Freedom course, what's true about me, what's true about Allison, what's true about Allie, like all the nicknames, and then all this just dumpster diving, right? All this stuff that we don't even know is deciding for us, right? It comes to the surface and then it can be released. So consciously, unconsciously, wounds definitely. There are similarities in the kind of wounds that I've seen in men and women, and there are also really big differences. Which way do you want me to go first?
Either which way. I mean, I guess let's start with the differences, just because I feel like we can always find our commonalities.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the commonalities are simple. We're wounded by not being seen. Not being seen, not being heard, not being honored. Um, and one of the biggest difference that I see, part of it is male and female as in affected by gender hormones, and part of it is what you would refer to as masculine and feminine, or Tony would. That's how he teaches my work. I have moved on because those terms have a lot of baggage, and it sticks it too much, right? It like locks it in instead of, okay, if you're in a committed state of mind, you're focused on productivity and destinations and goals, and what you need is to be trusted and respected. And we're wounded by people doing things that we perceive as being the opposite of that they don't trust us and they don't respect us. And even men have said, if you don't trust me, you don't know who I am, and therefore you couldn't possibly respect me. But we don't even know what they need to be trusted for. Like, we don't engage in a conversation. What do you need to be trusted for, or it's awful for you, right? Whereas, and we'll be that too, whether you're a man or a woman, if we're in a committed state of mind, trust and respect, productivity, get her done, they all come together in a package. And then on the other hand, if we're in an open, connected state of mind, right? Because that productive state of mind screens out everything considered irrelevant to the destination or the goal. So it's not connective. You can connect over what's being focused on, which is something I've been teaching people for years. Instead of trying to get your son to stop playing a video game, connect over the video game. Don't try to take him away from what's built to stimulate the brain that testosterone made for him. Connect through it, right? But if we're in an open state of mind, which, as you would know from engaging in my work, estrogen creates diffuse awareness, biologically, we naturally have an open state of mind, which occurs as being distracted, but it's also what has like kids thinking that mom has eyes in the back of her head because we can't not be aware, right? There's so much input, so we get overwhelmed, and we also can't talk fast enough to communicate everything we perceive.
I know.
Yeah. And we'll tend to have what we would say our feelings hurt. You hurt my feelings. And that's when somebody says something or does something that how we interpret it is they wouldn't have said or done that if they really loved us, if they really cared about us. And respected will get thrown in there, but usually it's love and care, like we talk about in the Queen's Code. And so we end up with these, physically it's different too, Anita. We'll end up with what feels like somebody punched us or stabbed us in the chest. And I call it the pancake. That we have a stack of pancakes right here, a ton of feelings located in one place, layered. So sadness and joy and happiness and hurt, it's the stack of pancakes right here.
Mhm.
And I remember a man said, why do women make their feelings the center of everything? And I was like, we don't. They are in the center of everything already. Which is, side note, why I think we need to make sure that we're clearing all that stuff out, because I think it manifests physically as breast cancer, because it's right there with the tender bits. And so that's where we'll have our injury. That's where we'll feel it. Whereas most men, there's the term crestfallen, which this is the crest. So they'll get shorter. Their wounds will have them like curl over themselves. Another word they use is crushed. When a woman that he cares about doesn't trust him for something he believes he deserves to be trusted for, crushed. Just like, oh. So all this part of his body is where that happens.
I thought about how it actually physically manifests,
Mm-hmm.
which is ironic because everything has a physical consequence, but you
Yeah.
don't necessarily think about, well, what does it actually look like in the day to day?
Right.
So,
Mm-hmm.
kind of to reverse, go into a different aspect of this question, what
Okay.
would you say is the difference predominantly between masculine and feminine energy?
Can I
I'm
can I
started with that.
can I say bad words, or do you have to be clinical, or
No, not clinical.
it's the difference between an innie and an outie. It's the difference between a vagina and an erection. So whether exhibited by a male or female human being, masculine energy is make way. Here I am, make way. We're getting this done. It's driving, it's forceful, and it doesn't really pay attention to what's being impacted. It's so destination oriented. It doesn't pay attention to that. Whereas feminine, you could think of like a vagina. The feminine energy makes space. So if you think, for example, about compassion, right? Compassion is actually a space, like a womb. Even in the space of compassion, love arises, understanding arises, even peacefulness arises, freedom arises, like that space of that feeling. It's not an emotion, it's a feeling, which I think is important to distinguish. And it's like a garden that's been, all these nutrients have put in, and then these things pop up like babies. So it's really, it makes it, I mean, you actually said it in the introduction. I try to make things simple. I try to make things memorable, visual. And we can even check ourselves. Like, am I coming at this? Do I feel like, I'm barging into the room and I'm coming at this conversation and I'm going to get somebody to do something, and that can be effective in a lot of contexts. There's a, you know, there's a building on fire and you got to get people out the door. You want masculine energy to do that. And, but if what you want to foster is appreciation and love and safety, like emotional safety and communication, people coughing up what's true for them, you gotta bring the other energy. And recently I was at something called the Big Tent, and is a summit for the future of what's known as men's work. And it was by invitation only, and it was amazing to be there with men of all ages, right? There were men in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s who were engaged in their own process of balancing, of the desire to own and balance both, which I think really is the work for all of us. Neither one of them is right. Neither one of them is wrong. It's all about for what purpose, to what end. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, almost what I saw right then in my head was actually doing it. It's like the wave comes in and then the wave retreats to make space, right? So energetically, it's the sailboats behind me would have a good time with that. Yeah.
Who tend to like me in the sense that I've done a lot of healing around the masculine.
Mm-hmm.
So, in your perspective, what is the easiest, or not easiest, but what is the best way to start the journey of healing your wounds with the masculine energy?
Wow. Well, I'm big on people starting where they're at, so I wouldn't like prescribe trying to get to someplace else to start. Um, so whatever someone is present to, like I didn't know when I saw in 1991, when my colleague was called a frog farmer, as in turning princes into frogs, and she rejected it outright. Um, and my life flashed before me, and I saw that not only that I was bringing out the worst in men, but I was so happy to see that I was, because until then, that's just who men were. Like they're scary, they're jerks. I'll use a polite word. They can't be trusted. They don't care about what you need, or they're actively withholding it. They're not safe, not safe, not safe, and they abuse power. And so I was primarily interacting with men in fight mode. So if you think of when we perceive an opportunity or we perceive a threat, we react in fight, flight, or freeze, and often a sequence. My sequence is fight. And then if that doesn't work, I freeze to figure out a new way to fight. And I go back to fighting. So fight, freeze, fight, freeze, fight, freeze, right? With this look on my face, like everything's fine. And then if I can't figure out a way for it to work, I finally just get the heck out of there. I flee. So how I mostly dealt with men in my 20s was in this fight mode that the my stepdad used to say the best defense is a good offense. So I was on the offense, like hand me your testicles and then we'll talk. Like just cut them down from the very beginning and see who stays in the ring. Not not knowing what I was doing, not knowing how vulnerable men are to women, not knowing how everything we do to try to get them to love us, we don't have to do it. They naturally love women. They naturally have an awe of women. And the misogyny and the ugliness that we see, that the way they say it in the men's work is wounded men who do wounding things. And if we can see that, so you asked about where do you start? Where are you at? Right? I was sure I knew why men did what they did. The question popped into my head, what if men are responding to women? And then I started checking to see, and I checked with real men. Did you do that because of this? It seemed like legitimate reasons. I was always wrong. In the beginning, I was always wrong. They're like, ew. What about that? Ew. I would never do anything for that reason, and no self-respecting man would. What? Women do things for that reason all the time. And so if someone's angry, start with the anger. If someone's hurt, start with the hurt. What and often if you look in either direction, you look at the hurt or you look at anger, what we'll see is, if we're willing to look, we'll see that we have expectations. And they didn't do what we expected them to do. And then we assigned a reason for why they didn't do it. And the reason we assigned hurt, or the reason we assigned enraged us. Oh, it's the patriarchy again. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but does that really get you anywhere? I'm so glad. Yeah.
Unresolved mother or father wounds show up and shape our abilities to relate to the polarity and our partnerships. Excuse me.
Mm. Ay, ay, ay. Um, okay, I have to, I have to go way back. I mean, I'm talking way back. I'm talking primordial. Okay. So we have a program called Freedom from Being Ordinary. And after the beginning of the year, people can participate with me in a journey, which is, I love journeys where people watch videos and then we interact and we get to take it further than it went in the video. I always want to do a further thing. And so in Freedom from Being Ordinary, we look at ordinary. What is ordinary? And so in answer to your question, I would propose, and I build a case for it in that course, but I'll just cut to the chase. What if our immune system is based on distinguishing, is this me or not me? And if it decides me, it's let in. And there's all kinds of conclusions. If it's not me, it's rejected or attacked. So like a sneeze is a not me reaction. Can you see that? It's an instant rejection to something. So what happens if you think about our minds, and this isn't just human, by the way, my dog does the same thing, a cat does the same thing, that trees outside my window do the same thing. That's what I mean by primordial. Everything on the planet is sorting, is this me or not me? Me or not me? Me or not me? And then and then we take it from there. So if we identify, for example, with our mother, that our mother, I'm female, she's female, therefore we're alike. I should be able to trust. I think I can trust her to act like me, to interact like me. And then when she doesn't, I'm hurt. Well, my mother's imprint passed down, right? My mother, I don't think there's any woman on earth my mother trusts. My mother competes with every single human with a vagina. And it doesn't matter that she's 83 years old. She still competes, and she still competes in the same way that she did when she was 20. And so depending if I identify with my mother or I don't identify with my mother, right? Then there's going to be wounds. So one of my highest values is honesty. It's truth, and seeking truth, speaking the truth, revealing the truth, uncovering the truth, standing by the truth, little t truth, big truth, right? Like, and my mom would say she learned to lie starting at 13 years old, and her default is to lie. And I thought, she loves me so much she won't lie to me. Right? And that's what we see. If she loved me more, she wouldn't lie to me. No, it's not personal. Lying is a human behavior. We have fight lying, freeze lying, flight lying. Well, I mean, lie. We have a thing called why men lie, why women lie. Basically, babies lie. Even my horse used to lie to me. Lying is concealment. We get all upset that a man is concealing from us. Conceal is normal. Conceal is a default. It doesn't mean anything. so mother father wounds. Honestly, I think they can have more energy because we give them more energy. But she's my mother, but he's my father. My father should have. When I figured out my father was a man who had the gorilla of alcoholism on his back since he was about 15 years old, but it didn't define who he was. I just thought my dad was an alcoholic. No, my dad is a man who has this thing. And instead of interacting him alcoholic, like my mother did, I started interacting with him as a man and what I'd learned about men. Completely transformed my relationship with him. I adore my father. My father adores me. And he's not the man who lived in the house with us when my mom was attacking him all the time. So we're going to be wounded by what we connected to and by how personal we think it is. Instead of, what if it wasn't personal? What if our mothers were doing their thing, our fathers were doing their thing? What if they didn't intend to hurt us? They didn't intend to neglect us. They didn't intend to dishonor us. They didn't intend to project things onto us that were gross to us. And how could you ever think I'm like that? What if they didn't mean to? What if they were just being human? And does this making sense? Like, we can make those wounds bigger, or we can go, well, wait a second. What if there's no intent in it? What if they were just scared and didn't know what the hell they were doing, and they're doing the best they could in a circumstance that was, I mean, my mother was 19 years old with 3 children under the age of 4. Yes, and a husband who was 4 years older in his night stage. Do you know, they knew if surf was up, he wouldn't be on time to work. And they accepted it because he was a brilliant mechanic. That would scare the pucky out of you with three kids and being a kid yourself, you know? All right. What?
Like whether they've done something that you may or may not agree with, they're
Mhm.
still humans at the end of the day, and they're on their own human journey of learning lessons as they go.
Yeah, when my daughter was pregnant with my first and so far only grandchild, I was interviewing grandmothers that I admired, which are my boyfriend's two older sisters. And Shay said to me, Allison, what it comes down to is if you loved being a mother, you'll love being a grandmother. And I just like what was right there was I don't think my mom ever wanted to be a mother. I don't think I don't I don't think my mom ever chose being a mother. Oh, right. Like the one thing I wanted to get out of this life with was being a mother. Right? It was a privilege to me to be a mother. And everything I did as a mother flowed out of that. Everything she did as a mother flowed out of a different place. Not right or wrong, but wow, okay.
I love this conversation so much. Honestly. So, how can women begin to distinguish between trauma response and authentic feminine essence when engaging with men?
Wow. It feels good. Um, this is one of my favorite things about men. Okay. And have you ever read Making Sense of Men? The book that I wrote, Making Sense of Men? Okay. So it's um the research that went into finding out what are the four most attractive qualities that has a man want to have sex with a woman versus the four most attractive qualities that have a man want to take care of her, contribute to her, protect her, make her life better, fall in love with her, want to be her mentor or her husband or her big brother. Um, what was awesome to me, and if we could lean into this, it could change everything. That the second most attractive quality is authenticity. That men crave real. They crave real. They put up with pretense, but it's like gives them the heebie-jeebies. They're just like, ugh, really? Do we gotta? And when men talk about women being authentic or real, I swear, I don't think I've ever heard it. And we're talking hundreds of men. I don't think I've ever heard them say authentic or real about a woman without using the word courage. When a woman has the courage to be real, when she has the courage to be direct, when she has the courage to be authentic, when she has the courage to say straight out what it is that she needs, they they think that is awesome, right? It has them feel respected, it has them feel honored, it has them be in awe of her, and a trauma response isn't authentic. A trauma response is gonna be some kind of fight, flight, or freeze, some kind of manipulation, right? We're trying to control something in a certain way to protect ourselves, which is natural, but also why it matters so much to do the work to heal and restore and release all that stuff.
what it
Extreme
was.
freedom is all about that. Have you done extreme freedom?
Not yet. I need to.
Oh, oh my gosh. Okay, when you do, feel free to use the tools in what you do because I the only credit I would take is that freedom's my number one noble quality, and the truth does set you free. So now you got my top two, and these there's things that I logically figure out. There's things that I've studied. There's things that people have said that been surprised and I've chased down. And then there's just the things that
Channels.
come through. Like it feels like they're using me to force themselves into the world. This must be known. And I'll watch videos of myself and I don't know what that Alison is saying. And extreme freedom, that whole course is this must be known, must be known, must be known. And even session 5, there's a handout called Restoration Requires. And it says, all or many of these, all of these might need to be present in order to be restored, in order to be whole and free again. And there's a whole section called Giving Up the Benefits of Being Wounded or Ashamed. And there's so many benefits. We talked about it from the very beginning, right? Using them to make false boundaries, right? Instead of just, no, you can't do that. But there's also belonging. I mean, we have wound groups. And even within the group, there's a competition for status. Who's the most wounded? Right? And so, and oh my gosh,
My
there's
trauma is more than yours.
exactly. And I mean, we can, instead of having a real boundary to justify behavior, to belong and have status, to get the attention of a great story. And you might notice in our courses, like in Understanding Sex and Intimacy, we don't let anybody ever tell a trauma story, ever, because our our brains are designed for survival. And so when someone else tells a trauma story, the brain is listening as if that happened to me and I've got to survive it. And that's why these stories, like, they create neural pathways so fast. And trauma is in the details. And so we don't let anybody ever give details. And I stopped giving details. Like, so how did this all start, Alison? I was 16 and something bad happened, and I decided that men are bigger and stronger and they'll hurt you. The end. Right? Like, and I found out the opposite. Yes, they are bigger and stronger, and at least 95% of them, what they think the point of that is so that they can protect you. That's what the bigger and stronger is for, is so that they can protect us. Who do they want to protect? One man called it the 3-foot rule. Another man said anyone within reach. They don't even have to like you. They can be mad at you and they'll still be compelled to protect you. It's who they really are. And so when we're authentic, instead of like we're acting out the conclusions of our trauma and punishing them with it because they belong to the gender of the person who did that, then they have to protect themselves. And that brings out the worst in them. But when we're authentic about, okay, like what I say to my boyfriend, okay, I'm having a human girl moment. You're like, Kelby, what do you need? and a few months ago, I thanked him. I said, thank you for loving me. And he said, you're welcome. And I said, and thank you for loving me even when I'm difficult.
That's the hard
And
one.
yeah. And he said, well, when you're difficult, I love you even more because you seem to need that. And he does. But he can respond because when I'm difficult, I'm owning I'm difficult right now. I'm prickly, I'm gnarly, I'm trying to own as much of this as I can, right? Like, and he has compassion for how, and men do that, have so much compassion for watching us deal with the stuff because they have stuff too.
So true. So, so moving into the embody phase of this,
Okay.
what would we say it feels like for when a woman is deeply in her feminine essence and a man is in his masculine? Can you somehow point that out somatically if you could?
Mm. All right. So, hmm, for men, uh, in masculine strength, masculine power, where it shows up in their bodies is across their shoulders, their neck, their backs, and their arms and their chest. And so if when men have their arms crossed, we think that they're closed. They actually have their arms crossed because that's the easiest way to support an enormous amount of physical weight. This is where their strength is, this is where their weight is, this is where their muscles are. They're 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 so heavy here. And when a man is empowered, you will see it. You will see it instead of crestfallen, right? The crest will rise. So this place in our chest, which also is the location of unconditional love, the location in freedom from being ordinary. This is where fire, which is your spiritual sword, comes out. So power, masculine power, here. And unfortunately, for the way that we react to each other, when a man is happy, happiness and power arise together. Happiness and victory arise together. And we're afraid of their power. We're afraid of their strength. So a happy man, actually, most normal women will react to a happy man by attacking him. They want to take the wind out of their sails. They'll criticize them. They'll make a snarky comment. They'll roll their eyes. They'll do something to take them down because it's scary. We don't know how much men not only intend to, but strive to use their power for us. And so when we are scared of it and we take it away, now they have to protect themselves and they turn into their worst. And it just, it just keeps going. So yeah, physically embodied, a man in his masculine power, it's gonna show up here. And it's gonna show up in a blaze or even a twinkle in his eye. The twinkling shows up the more as they evolve themselves, which is what men's work is all about. The twinkle shows up more and more. It's stunning. I got to be in a room full of men like this. Oh yeah, 65 of them. It's amazing. So that's what I'd say about that. And then for a woman, okay. There's a simple answer and then there's a more complex answer, but embodied, I love that the E is for embodied because our instincts, human and pre-human, they're embodied. They are hardwired. And everything that goes with them. So if we're under any kind of stress, so the perception of a threat or an opportunity, we're under stress, only what's embodied is a viable choice. If you want to think of it in terms of neuroscience, only what's embodied is an exit from the freeway or an entrance to the freeway that it can choose, that there's a neural pathway. And so there's a lot of work to be done between the brain and the body to connect. And specifically for feminine forms of power, is what we call it. Feminine forms of power, how they occur in the body is as a feeling. And this is why I distinguish between emotions, which I think are triggered instinctually, like anger, for example. Anger is an energy in motion. Somebody called emotions energy in motion. So it travels. Fear travels. So one way to look at it, Anita, would be the difference between fear, which is going, and dread. Dread has a location. Can you see it? Dread actually it's a feeling that lives in your body in a particular place. And you can feel dread.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, so this is true for everything. And this is why we work so much on what we call noble qualities. So if you think of your highest values, notice as a feeling where in your body is compassion. What's its location? And we do this unconsciously, like when we realize, oh gosh, be patient. We'll unconsciously check the location in our body where we feel patience, and we can even measure how full we are with that feeling. Does this make sense? Like, oh, I only have this much patience, or oh, I have plenty of patience. And what I used to focus on was making sure our tanks were full, right? All our highest values, whatever they are, make sure your tanks are full. So get the human need met that puts that feeling in your body wherever it's located. Well, a few years ago, I started talking about overflowing. So this is where clarity comes in, right? We have to be clear about, so what is my feminine self? There's at least 100 adjectives that could describe feminine ways of being. So which of those, when you feel that way, you feel like yourself? You would describe, this is myself. Wow. I'm being empowering. I'm dedicated to the truth. I feel free to express myself. I'm offering partnership. I'm practicing contentment, my spiritual practice. I'm so myself right now. But so when you put those feelings in your body, which has to do with sleep and movement and nature and time with special people and time alone, and I mean, they're all really pretty plain human needs. If we get enough of them, which is also a key ingredient, paying attention to enough, it doesn't have to be the ideal amount, we can end up where this is a different kind of self-care, where you're overflowing as yourself and your particular flavor of yourself. And I've interacted with thousands of women about this. I've never met two women who are exactly what they define as themselves would be the same qualities in the same order, because the order actually matters. So that's the long, complicated answer. The short, simple answer would be radiance. When a woman is seated in her feminine power, it's a woman from Japan said, is there a beauty that is every woman's birthright? Yes, it's called radiance. When we're in our feminine power, light and heat is coming off of us. And men are so sensitive to radiance. Oh my gosh, it's like it's like food to them. It's nutrients to them. and they if they do something that causes a woman to lose her radiance, they're just like, oh no. And Dan described it once. He said, he said, he said, I knew I'd done something because your face went flat. And I was, how did my face go flat? And then I looked in the mirror like,
You lost your glow.
flat. Yeah. And like literally the cheeks, the glow, all the form that goes with me being happy and feeling able and capable and powerful and spacious and gone. Just so radiant. Are you radiant?
I love this answer so much. Going to try to make this really quickly, but
Yes. We're gonna have to wrap up. Yes.
But,
What's this one?
so let's just go ahead and skip to rise. In the stage of evolving gender roles, how conscious, how can conscious feminine leaders call forward healthy masculine without emasculating them or being in dominant state?
Hmm. Um, we have a webinar on our website under shop products called Own Your Ultimatums. And it has everything to do with being clear about what you won't live with and you won't live without. And it applies to every context. As a mother, that saying pick your battles really matters. And what my kids knew was that I would not live without respect. Respect for me and respect for each other. And I would not live without kindness. And I would not live with meanness of any flavor. my oldest daughter calls me the most ruthless person she knows. And I would pursue kindness with ruthlessness. I would pursue respect with ruthlessness. I would enforce those boundaries. And when we're not clear about, you could call them deal breakers, ultimatums, what we won't live with or without, when we're not clear about it, and especially when we're not clear about what it costs us, the price, how high the price is, the more we get clear about the price of it, the more likely we are to be true to it, to honor our own boundary. And one of the ways that I put it is don't ask anybody else to give you what you need until you've committed to what you need. And so, like our Smart Singles program, which I just ended the one for this year, our Smart Singles program is all about developing the clarity of I am better off with a person who's like this, and I'm better off without a person who isn't like this. And just like not fudging for, but he's so cute, he's so rich, he's so what my mother always wanted for me, he has such high status, he's so important. No, this is what I live with and this is what I live without. And it's part of that authenticity that men love. They love it when we're clear and we're consistent, that we don't sometimes say, no, you have to be that way, and other times we let them be that way. That creates confusion. And it's one of the questions in our partnership work, which is the highest level of our work. Are you contributing to clarity or confusion? And, we even start with it in our Understanding Men course. Are you a trusted source? How do you become a trusted source for a man? Because facts come from trusted sources, and most women aren't trusted sources because they're inconsistent.
Very true.
Yes, we,
And
yeah.
yet, if we had the inconsistency from men, we wouldn't tolerate it.
Well, but we do if they're really cute, or we have a lot of chemistry, or we think we're dependent upon them. Or we're afraid of them. We put up with all kinds of things. And, I had to come at it all these ways. And why did men treat some women some ways and other women other ways? And my boyfriend at the time, I said, "What are you looking for?" This was like about 8 months into studying men. I'm like, "What are you looking for in a relationship? What do you really want?" And God bless him. He was also a friend of mine. And so he told the truth. He said, "Truthfully, I want to be in a relationship where the woman is giving me everything I need while I provide nothing."
Balance.
So to the point, but that was before I learned what is it about us that has gives men this profound desire to provide. Not They don't want to provide nothing, they want to provide so much. What causes that? Because it's part of being human. We're all providers and we want to provide, and we need to be received from, and we need quality information so we're not wasting our energy and resources on providing something that someone's like the bullseye. As we talk about understanding men, they want to hit the bullseye and they need information to hit the bullseye. But as long as we think they should know what we need without us having to tell them, they they miss all the time and they quit.
Okay, final question before we wrap. What is one piece of outdated relationship advice you believe we need to release to rise into our partnerships today?
Don't call men. We should release don't call men. Don't initiate. Now, we definitely should not chase them, but invite. Men need to be invited because they're so sensitive to us. It hurts to be rejected by us. And so when we invite them, like the message I left for, I didn't know he was going to end up being my husband for 26 years. The message I left for Greg. I was thinking about you and I'm thinking we should be really good friends or something. If you think so too, you should call me. No time limit.
I love that
Yeah.
because so much of the time we're almost expected to leave the pressure on the guys. And it's like, well, sometimes if you're interested, you might as well make it known.
Well, but interested, not like, I want you. What does that remind you of? Right? That's their job.
That's aggressive.
Exactly. And there was a man on one of our panels. Gosh, I wish we were filming in those days. So imagine like a Ryan Gosling in that movie where he's this really classy, well-dressed guy that even his shoe was a turn on. Do you know the movie I'm talking about? Anyhow, this he was beautiful, right? And he was all the things, right? And he picked the question, um, if a woman is looking at you and making eye contact with you, is there a reason why you wouldn't approach? And he picked this question, and we're thinking, this guy, he would approach anybody, anytime. He'd have to have so much confidence. And he said, and he read the question, he said, if she wasn't smiling. And He goes, and it's not just like she's smiling at first. So if she's smiling at me and then I start to get out of my chair, is she still smiling? And then I take a step, is she still smiling? If she isn't smiling on my entire approach, oh, I gotta go over there. Like, yeah, like she literally has to smile him all the way to her.
Ladies, careful if you have RBF.
Oh yeah, I've got that. I wondered why people said I was intimidating, and then I caught my face in the mirror and I was just relaxed and I was really interested. So we call it Mona Lisa. At least, put a little.
There's something there. Okay, I'm gonna do a quick rapid fire round, one word answers.
Oh
What
God.
is
Okay.
your current mantra?
It's an answer.
It doesn't have to be that
My current mantra is Om Shanti 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 Om.
one. Love it. Um, a book that changed your life outside of yours.
Outside of mine, a book that changed my life. Oh gosh, I'm reading a book now that I know is going to change my life and my work. It's called Fierce and Tender: Healing the Deep Masculine in Men and Women. And I met him. His name is Danae Maria Sebastiani, and what a privilege! And it's all about men's work, and it's a memoir of his journey, and just the introduction, the beginning of it. It's like, oh, I wish all women could read this.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then final one, what's one word that describes your current season?
My current what?
Season.
Season. Definitely summer. Rising,
No,
rising, rising, rising.
describes your current season. So, for example, mine is bold.
Oh, I thought you meant a season word. Um, Open.
I love this. It's been a pleasure having you. Lastly, where can people connect with you and just learn all the greatness?
Go to AlisonArmstrong.com. You can even spell it with two L's, it'll still work. Um, Audible only has what I created 20 years ago or more. So everything I've done in the last 2 decades is on our website. That'd be the place to go.
And uh, is your main social just Instagram?
Well, I don't think of it as a social platform,
Where
but
people can
you,
connect with you?
YouTube, YouTube Alison Armstrong videos. We have like 60 videos now, including one that for all, whether dating or married, it's called Chemistry and Connection, and it debunks the idea that chemistry is scarce and connection is scarce and having both is impossible, and it teaches you where it comes from and how to cause more and less of whichever you want more or less of. If you're being controlled by having too much chemistry, so you're a ninny, you can reduce it. It tells you exactly how to reduce chemistry for somebody who makes you stupid. Or how do you increase chemistry for someone you think is such a great person, but you don't have any chemistry for them. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I'm sure we will get some lovely people connecting with you. I'm so honored to have you on this episode again. And for those of you watching or listening to this, please subscribe so we can continue to bring on wonderful guests like Allison. And until the next one, that is it for today.
Thanks, Anita.
Thank you.